listening to Travel with the Backpacking Housewife podcast. Welcome to episode 1, in which we discuss 10 reasons to travel in your 50s and 60s. If you needed encouragement to travel more in your 50s and 60s, then you might be emboldened to know that senior travel is to become a post-pandemic trend in the new future of travel, with travel agents now promoting age-friendly tourism as more older people than ever before are looking to prioritise travel in their lives. It's being reported in the Times this week, in fact, that the proportion of people planning to retire early has more than doubled since the coronavirus pandemic. But it's not just those looking to take early retirement or finally reaching full retirement age who are fueling their own fresh opportunities for adventure or boosting their own appetites for travel. It's all being led by a whole generation of boomers who are longing for a well-earned lifestyle change. So whether it's the new rage for revenge travel in the wake of coronavirus pandemic, or the desire to live life more freely on our own terms after the restrictions of lockdown, we are being told that travel will be all the rage in the new future, and experts are expecting a boom in boomer travel. I'm an enthusiast of travel at any age, but I want to share with you why I personally believe it's best to travel in your 50s and 60s and how travel experiences in your midlife can be even more rewarding and more beneficial than in your younger years, and that one day, hopefully soon, we will all be able to travel again. I want to show you, both on this podcast and throughout my website at thebackpackinghousewife.com, through reassurance and by example, how travelling is done in your 50s and 60s or older. If you're feeling a little unsure or scared and even a little bit afraid while also longing to travel and experience the world, then that's okay, because it's only natural to have travel fears, particularly when we're older. But you should ask yourself if those fears are realistic or just imagined. Understandably, most older travellers worry about health and safety and money, and it's true that travel can be dangerous. The news media reminds us of this danger constantly, and now we have the coronavirus pandemic making us wary of others and even more worried about travel. But let's broach that fear factor right now, although I do intend to record a full podcast episode very soon focusing on travel fears and all the tried and tested practical ways that you can deal with and overcome them. Because although travel fear is real and something we do and will acknowledge, and there is actually a list of the most dangerous places in the world, there is also a list of the most beautiful places in the world that we should all hope to see with our own eyes. Stranger danger too is a real threat, and we're constantly reminded that there are bad people lurking out there waiting to trick and rob and hurt and even kill us. Unfortunately, that might be true at home as well as abroad. It's also true, certainly in my own experience, that there are many more good people in the world than there are bad. And all over the world, people just want the same things: decent food, clean water, a roof over our heads and a safe place to sleep, health and happiness for ourselves and our loved ones. We can counter the fear by being brave and sensible, being prepared, being equipped, taking precautions and weighing up the risks in knowing that life itself is a risk wherever we are in the world. So why not grab your chance to be bold, not old, and embrace your golden years of travel? Before we get into my 10 reasons to travel in your midlife and beyond, let's take a look at what's happening in current media. Because right now, as we all know, the news is full of travel talk, of traffic light systems and digital vaccine passports, and something that's caught my eye in several newspapers and magazines this week are new travel trends that I've discovered that more than half of us aged 50 and over plan to travel in the new future and are likely to have a bucket list. According to an article I read in the Scotsman newspaper this week, people are saying and believe that age 50 is the point where their life is just about getting started. And well, I have to say that I absolutely agree with them. It also says that those of you who are parents in your 50s with grown-up children leading independent lives are now just as likely as those in their 20s to take a grown-up gap year to do your bucket list, or to take a work sabbatical in order to prioritise slow travel in your lives and to embrace a more flexible and location-free working environment, to mix travel with workations and opportunities to work remotely as digital nomads. In other research, those over 55 and over will use their assets such as property wealth to live a fulfilling and enjoyable retirement and to include travel, with 1 in 4 admitting that they would certainly invest in a holiday of a lifetime. In the UK Woman and Home magazine, a survey of British over 55s sought to prove that a sense of adventure doesn't diminish with age, and so has proved that not only do the majority of over 55s have a travel list, but they can also see that now is the best time to complete it. So, to quote the conclusion of this survey, free from the burdens of a young family and not limited by financial or work-related constraints, people actually find more freedom to explore in older age than when they were young. All proving that travel in your 50s and 60s is possibly the very best age to travel. Perhaps you've spent years working a job and waiting for the freedom of the weekend, and spending years fitting your travel and adventure into an annual 2-week holiday slot. Personally, I spent all my 20s working on building my career. I spent my 30s making a home and having children, and also working. I spent my 40s raising teenagers and encouraging them to become well-educated and well-rounded adults. And during these wonderful decades, I longed to travel, and we often did, saving up for family holidays in far-flung places and raising our kids to think of themselves as citizens of the world rather than just one country. And then in our mid-50s, and once our kids had left home and left us with an empty nest, perhaps before it came a trend, my husband and I decided we no longer needed a home. We just needed a phone, and of course the resources to travel. We did have a couple of small private pensions we could take early, and we knew from life experience so far that at 54, the age we were then when we sold up to travel, we still had the ways and means and capacity to earn some money to support ourselves. I had my writing, and my practical husband could turn his hand to most things, although what he actually ended up doing during our first few years of travelling was making his own personal dreams come true by training and qualifying as a scuba diving instructor. During the same time, a personal dream came true for me too, when I wrote my Backpacking Housewife series of books to be published by HarperCollins. Living a life of travel and exploring the world in our prime, or golden years, has afforded us opportunities we would never have believed possible. All the topics that I've touched on with you today, travel fears and bucket lists and slow meaningful travel, as well as holidays of a lifetime and workaways and house sitting, volunteering and conservation travel, and all the other ways to experience travel, I promise to cover with you in much more detail in future episodes of this podcast, as well as on my travel website at thebackpackinghousewife.com. So without further ado, let's look at my 10 reasons to travel in your 50s and 60s. Number 1, you'll get to live life with no regrets. Because when you're older, you get to realise that time is more important than money. But unless you're fortunate enough to have savings or a big pension pot, affording your dream of travelling the world in midlife could come down to making a few different lifestyle choices or shifting your priorities. We decided to sell everything we owned to afford long-term travel when we were in our mid-50s, and we have no regrets. One of my very favourite travel quotes, in fact, is that we travel not to escape life, but for life not to escape us. Number 2, you can practice adventure before dementia. Experience new places, cultures, languages and people, all proven by scientists to improve cognitive function. It's good for your older brain, so travelling in midlife can keep your brain healthy and keep your mind more alert for longer than if you'd stayed at home. Number 3, a grown-up gap year will make you see the world differently and from a new perspective. Time spent travelling broadens the mind and expands both horizons and tolerance. It can make you perceive everything differently and realise that there is still so much to learn about the world. Number 4. Travel can give you a new purpose in life. Why not make a difference and volunteer on conservation or charitable ventures abroad? There are lots of fabulous organisations all over the world that encourage those over 50 and in retirement to find and to volunteer on the perfect project for them. Organisations like Volunteer World, Workaway, Global Vision International or the GVI, Projects Abroad and Volunteer Forever are just a few. But please be sure to do your own comprehensive and full research into any volunteering opportunities and organisations, won't you? Number 5. Travelling in midlife can be tiring, so why not take it slowly? Spending several weeks or even months at a time in a place can prevent jet lag and reduce your travelling carbon footprint. Slow travel can also help you to fully experience living like a local and give you the chance to make new lifelong friends. Number 6. Frugal or fabulous? The choice is yours. If being older and more mature means you're more discerning and you now appreciate your comforts, then leave the hostels and the hard bunks to others and choose to stay in good quality and comfortable accommodation. Travelling, even backpacking, can be done in comfort and even on a budget, and is way more affordable in some countries than others. You just have to learn your travel hacks and ways to be fabulously travel savvy. Number 7. You learn to trust your gut in all situations. You have the benefit of maturity and wisdom and life experience, and so have learned to stay safe and sensible by listening to your gut and trusting your own instincts. Number 8. Choose to plan or not to plan. Make your plans and live your dreams, but don't forget to leave room for spontaneity and to allow for impulse trips and to take advantage of unexpected opportunities that might come your way. In my experience, that kind of thing happens all the time while travelling. Number 9. Have fun creating and ticking off your bucket list. Make a list of all the places that you've dreamed of seeing with your own eyes, but don't forget to include experiences to live and feelings to feel. Number 10. Write about it. You can inspire others to be bold and travel in their 50s and 60s by keeping a journal of your travels, or create an online blog or a travel podcast. Just share your adventures with friends and family back home, if only so that they have an idea of not how you are, but where you are. So tell me, are you planning to travel more in your 50s and 60s? Are you joining the post-pandemic trend of travelling in your golden years? Are you considering a revenge travel after a life in lockdown? Do you have a bucket list? Do you have travel fears? Let me know. I'm on Facebook and I'm on Instagram as Janice Horton Writer. And if you're on Twitter, please do tweet me your travel goals and all your questions at Janice Horton, JANICEHORTON. And come and travel with me here on Travel with the Backpacking Housewife podcast. Subscribe and follow for inspiring and informative new episodes each week, in which I'll be discussing ways to plan for and to prioritise travel in our lives and in our new future, and in what is set to become a new and golden age of travel.